It's yeah, the issues that we have are some residential and retail. That's we had
You're probably surprised by how little time you have next door.
yeah, yeah, I think that's good.
Thank you.
I hope you ladies are talking about something controversial because everybody down on the internet is watching you, listening to you.
Okay, well, welcome to a special meeting of the Millbrae City Council. Today is February 26, 2019. Roll call, please.
All council members are present.
Okie dokie. Thank you. And staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm going to present to you Dawn and Nicole from Group 4, who will give you a presentation on the status of the design of the new recreation center. Tonight's a milestone evening as we'll be looking at final conceptual designs for the center and hope to come to consensus and next steps moving forward.
Thank you, Deanna. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Our pleasure to be here this evening, and we have about 30 slides to review with you. Just give you an update on the work plan, to go over the two conceptual design options. We do have an update for you on the operational analysis, and then review the two options and get your input so that we can take the preferred option and refine it for the final conceptual design report. So where we are in the project schedule is really at the completion of the recommendations. Last time we saw you at the joint meeting with the Park and Recreation Commission, we had two design options that you all gave us input along with your Park and Rec commissioners. Since then, we have got updated budget information and further developed the two designs based on the input we collected that evening. What we're looking at once we get your direction is the completion of the conceptual design report and bringing that back for your acceptance. One thing that has been completed as well is the completion of the CEQA work. And so the project has been approved and is ready to go once we have conceptual design as far as the California Environmental Quality Act. And again, completed the master plan last year, working on the conceptual design this last 9 months. Concurrent with that, I know staff has been working hard for looking at funding and implementation strategies, which will be followed by the construction and design phase, and then into construction. The current plan that is looking at moving forward is the first phase of the project, as you recall, and includes the parking off of Lincoln Circle, the recreation center, and improvements to the Laurel parking lot. And this is the boundaries of the project scope that we're really focusing on right now. The full build out for the master plan does include a future gym, as well as additional parking that would be located at approximately where the current tennis courts are. And the tennis courts could either be relocated or built on top of that parking, as well as the additional improvements to the rest of the park. The recreation center, again, this first phase that we're focusing on here, is a full complement of program spaces and really has an increase of more than 60% increase over the previous community center, really to meet the community needs for today and tomorrow. I think one of the beauties of this design is the footprint is about the same size as the previous community center, just slightly larger, but again, significant increase in space and program and activities because we've gone to that two-story strategy. It has the community lounge, the senior lounge, 2 classrooms, preschool rooms, community room, commercial kitchen, fitness studio, game room, consultation room, art classroom, as well as staff and support spaces. As we're looking at developing flexibility for council, working really hard with our project management team and staff to see how we could creatively package this project for you. And so what we are presenting tonight is opportunities to look for alternative funding for the preschool element, which is being considered as a contract opportunity, as well as an optional funding opportunity for outside or partnership support. And then also the flexibility of breaking the community hall off as an ad alternate. And within that ad alternate, we would include the Laurel parking lot improvements because that is what would be needed to accommodate that additional square footage for parking. And again, this is just to provide flexibility in phasing and funding. And so as we look at the first floor, we've got staff spaces up in the northwest corner with our lobby, which has good access to drop-off and accessible parking spaces. We have the game room, as well as the fitness room, the preschool spaces, support spaces, as well as a kitchen and the large community hall on the first floor. On the second floor in this option, we have the art classroom, we have the senior lounge, we have conference rooms, as well as 2 additional classrooms. Now, based on some of the input that we got during the conceptual design, we have gone ahead and developed another alternative floor plan. This alternative floor plan switches the fitness space as well as the game room to the second floor and pulls the conference room and the art classroom to the first floor. Now, there's lots of pros and cons on the opportunities to locate these spaces on different floors. So our recommendation is really to work in the next phase of design and schematic design with the stakeholders and the users and staffs to really optimize these relationships. But the design does have the flexibility to accommodate either of those moving forward. So new information for you tonight is the operational analysis. On the first slide here, we've listed out our assumptions. Now, Ballard King has been our consultant working on this very diligently with Deanna and McKinsey and vetting all of the numbers that are going into this analysis. The expense budget is pretty comprehensive and includes both full and part-time staff, utilities, operating supplies, repair and maintenance. Assumption for operating hours is 76 hours a week. Program fees and rental rates, important to note, are not based on what was used for the old facility or not necessarily your current rates. These are looking at comparable market rates right now. So with the new facility, understanding that you would want to be revisiting those and becoming competitive with your neighbors and other comparable facilities. The preschool room right now is kind of shown as a no input, understanding that potentially that would be contracted out. I would note, though, that typically the preschool, licensed preschool, is a revenue opportunity for facilities. So as we looked at the projected revenues and expenses, revenue column is the first one, expenses is the second one. The one thing to note here, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but on facility rentals, we're showing a low and a high on the revenue. And that really is just dependent on how heavily you market these spaces. You can really look at maximizing rental revenue and really going out and marketing the different spaces for different uses, or you can look at a more balanced approach in retaining those spaces and making them more available to community and local programs, and that's why we decided to show that range. As we look at the total along the bottom, you can see that the revenue is about $1 million to $1.2 million, with expenses about $2.3 million. And then important to put it into context, looking at your existing city budget for 2017 to 18, I think one of the things to note here is the net general fund cost, currently about $1.1 million. When we look at the low projection for the proposed facility, that increases to about $1.3 million. But again, that's about 60% more space and programs opportunities than what you had previously. When we look at marketing and creating more revenue from your rental spaces, that high-end projection reduces to $1.14 million for the net for the general fund. So just a slight increase over what your current general fund is. And the cost recovery rates are summarized at the bottom there. So as we go forward with kind of the meat of the presentation, if you will, for tonight, the 2 design options we have for your consideration is the community porch option that's shown on the left and the park lantern design on the right. Distinctively different in their massing, but very similar and based on the same floor plan options and operational efficiencies that we've worked out with staff. The community porch design, as summarized on this slide, is slightly more expensive. Slightly less expensive, about $800,000 less than the park lanterns. The park lanterns is more complicated in terms of its roofing and the massing, and that's really driving that additional $800,000 in cost. And then we were going to walk you through kind of the summary of the differences in the designs here. First, we're looking through design and budget options, breaking out the current cost model. We've summarized it in the community room, the recreation center, community room and sites, and then looking at a bid alternate opportunity for that community room and kitchen. And then if alternate funding is found for the preschool, what that may be about $2.1 million, which accounts for the play area, as well as the 2 preschool rooms. So showing the project budget, the total, which is in bold, and the slightly larger numbers, you should note, is in today's dollars. The escalation, about 10%, is summarized below that. And so the escalation allowance would be on top of that. And that is to midpoint of construction, which right now is just estimated at December 2021. And as that number moves out, that escalation number will change as well. Here is a summary of the design options. Really the inspiration on the roofs as we look at the community porch. I mentioned the simpler massing. We basically have 2 large shed roofs with 2 flat roofs. And then for the park lanterns, we have 4 sloping roofs, breaking down that massing more, that's interspersed with 3 flat roofs. The structure for the community porch, just to really accent that more simpler massing, we looked at a cleaner strategy in terms of structure and concealed it within the outside overhangs. And for the park lanterns, really wanting to kind of celebrate that, make it a little bit more of a articulated type of structure. We actually exposed the roof structure. Both of them have distinctive entries. The community porch has a turned up corner to the large roof to create a higher volume and more inviting entry. But for the park lantern, we took that stair tower and we articulated the massing of the stair tower and the elevator and created it as a symbolic chimney, if you will, and really creating that massing to anchor that corner of that elevation. The PV opportunities is also a differentiator. That's the photovoltaics or the solar panels on the roof, because we were able to orientate the photovoltaics for the porch, the community porch optimally. We're able to get more photovoltaics and more higher percentage that's optimally oriented. This is not to say that for the park lanterns, we wouldn't be able to add additional photovoltaics in the parking lot, or really the ideal spot for the photovoltaics would be the future phase, the gym roof, which is a large mass and can really be taken advantage of for photovoltaics. And the community rooms on both of them are very similar and open up nicely to the park and create nice integrated indoor-outdoor connections. From your committees, just to give you the background, the Community Center Subcommittee really supported the flexibility of finding the right funding strategy. The Advisory Committee also came to support that recommendation. I would note that their first preference was the park lanterns. High preference in the Advisory Committee for the park lanterns. And then the Parks and Recreation Commission as well. The park lanterns was definitely the preferred design option for them, with 2 of the commissioners feeling confident enough to express that, and others really probably withholding their opinion and wanting council to weigh in. My interpretation. And just to refresh your memories, so we've got design renderings for both options. The community porch, looking at this from the corner of the parking lot off of Lincoln Circle, kind of the entry view. You can see how the paseo meanders down alongside the building. Indoor-outdoor connections. The lower massing on the left has the opportunity for a green roof as an add alternate. And then a lovely view from the park, looking back up at the facility, looking towards the west. You can see the community hall, the outdoor patio that complements the community hall, and then kind of the large sweeping roof that goes up to the entry and bends up to create that two-story opening for that entry. And then this is looking at it from the Lincoln Circle, looking west. So we've kind of moved over and are looking back towards the bay. As you would see this turning the corner on Lincoln Circle, heading east. And how one of the things that you've seen since we met with you in November was really completed the design for this elevation, which had not been completed before for both options, and really taken some care and consideration of how this would address the neighborhood. And then this is the view looking west on Lincoln Circle with the east elevation of the community hall opening up to the park. And then you can see the second floor classrooms and has how the massing kind of fits nicely with the change in elevation in the street there. And here is our night view of the entry. And then the night view from the park. Now moving on to the park lanterns. The corner entry, again, tipping that roof up, creating a nicer, higher, more welcoming volume to the entry, but anchoring that elevation with the massing from the stairs and the elevator. You can see our vertical circulation creates this kind of really nice anchor to this elevation here. Still the one-story staff space beyond that, and the building working its way down the paseo with the roof line tipping one way and the other, being responsive to the spaces inside and really responding to the needed daylight for each of those activity spaces. The view from the park side, looking back up to the building. Again, the use of the varied roofs and the multiple shed roofs really helps break the massing of this building down compared to the other one, which is larger massing just with the two roof lines. This one has multiple roof lines and the massing is broken down. Looking at the west elevation, again moved over to the left, looking down Lincoln Circle towards the east. This one particularly nicely addresses the neighbors to the apartments to the north here. And then this is the view looking up Lincoln Circle towards the west. It would typically be more concealed by the tree lines that are there, but we've kind of faded those so you can see the building and how it integrates to the park. The night entry. And the park lanterns is funny because Tom didn't understand why we called it park lanterns until we showed him the night rendering for this one. Because as each of those roofs pops up, they really take on the opportunity to create the transparency inside to the building to see the activity and to be this beacon or this lantern of the activities in the community center, rec center. And then the parkside night rendering for the park lanterns. And so that basically summarizes our presentation tonight, and be happy to take feedback, input, and comments.
Councilwoman Schneider, please.
Just for the record, and so that council knows, I contacted the FPPC again with the death of my dad, and they have ruled that I can continue, because it's still in a trust, I can continue to work on the project, but I wanted to make sure that that was clear. Thank you.
Councilwoman Pappen.
I don't. Okay. I am curious about the, sorry, excuse me. Lost my place here. I think it was, the revenue and expenses It appears to be that the one design would have more solar. So would that then pull it down to the lower expenses and operations?
So, excellent question. So the operation analysis for the expenses does not take into account the photovoltaic savings that you would have for energy uses. And so the difference, just because the photovoltaics were an alternate to the design, hoping that the city could find alternative funding, either through low interest loan or through other opportunities for the state energy department to help fund this. And so the actual cost savings that you will get from being able to use photovoltaics is not rolled into these expenses. And so these expenses will come down once that happens. But your point on initial opening day, if we do have photovoltaics, will the expenses for the community porches be less? Generally is true, yes.
Okay, so I think part of our analysis moving forward here really needs to include that, because I believe PG&E is giving certain credits, and the state and the feds, and those seem to go very quickly or are being phased out at certain levels here. So we need to know when we can lock that in to take advantage of those savings, because I think part of this council's concerns are that this is 60% bigger for a bigger population that we need to accommodate, yet we are looking to make it less operational costs to save the taxpayer some money there. So I would like...
We can, by the time we finalize the report, we can probably give you general order of magnitude for that. Now, one way to get the photovoltaics is through a purchase power agreement, which will cost the city nothing, but you go into an agreement like the schools are doing, where somebody comes in and installs on your roof their solar panels, and you agree to buy that power from them for 20 years at a set rate or slightly increases over time, but significantly less costly than what you're buying traditional power for. And so we can give you order of magnitudes, but until the exact funding is determined and it's into the next level, we won't be able to give you like that detailed analysis.
Well, too, and I mean, maybe Ms. Schneider would know better here, or Mr. Lee in that realm. I understand that we would want to own them. I think it's, from what I understand, it's a better deal to own them than to kind of lease them and then you're just getting a credit. I mean, what the commercials you hear on TV.
Some cities are doing one thing, other cities are doing the other. So right now, Elk Grove is actually doing purchase power agreement for all their city facilities. Since they have so many, they're able to get a pretty good discount because all the square footage of their facilities. So it does vary, and it varies based on the opportunities that are available to you at that time. So I think we can do an analysis to show you what the potential range will be if you own them or if you're doing a purchase power agreement.
Yeah, we would have to look at that. And I'd like to know, the library does have solar, our library. So I'm wondering what the agreement is currently on those solar panels moving forward here, because we're looking at an investment for the future. So we want the best potential operations here and the best return for the city. So that would definitely be an aspect that I would like to consider. Thank you.
She's going to follow up on it.
I would only add, if you're going to do the analysis for solar, because the technology is changing, one of the problems when you purchase your own panels and they go out of date or they fail, you have to replace them. When you lease them, the owner of them replaces them. So there's some trade-offs there. If we purchase them, part of the big discussion in the solar industry or in my industry is, okay, who handles these things at end of life? There's going to be a cost associated with that. When you lease, you don't have to worry about the cost of end of life. The other thing that I would add into the comparison of the two plans is, what is the effect of natural daylighting? Because the one that has the greater natural daylighting would have reduced energy costs during the day, which should be part of that factor. And it's not just solar capacity and energy use, it's that daylighting component. Does that help?
Well, yeah.
There's a bunch of different ways to look at it, and I think the analysis should look at all of the ownership leasing options.
Yeah, and we haven't, I can see obviously from, it looks like, I would assume the park lanterns would have more natural daylight.
They're about comparable.
They are.
And all of the spaces we've oriented with outdoor lights. One of the things, like when you're in the art classroom, the north light is a more diffuse light and causes less harsh shadows. And so that's one of the reasons we put that art classroom on the second floor with north light. All of the spaces at this point, I would say, are comparable between the two for daylighting. And daylight harvesting is definitely something that would be incorporated in the design.
And if I may, I'm sorry. So I'm interested, you've got the two there. It does definitely look like the park lantern has more window exposure there as opposed to the community porch. So it looks significantly larger to me. I don't know if it's just the renderings from the front. Am I correct or incorrect here?
No, I think it's comparable.
It doesn't look that way. Am I the only one who's... I'm looking at both of those here.
I think it's the roof line is different, so it makes it appear larger because of the glass on the second level of the...
These are modeled,
Okay.
so we can do a takeoff to clarify the
Yeah,
exact
please.
square footage, but the intent was for them to be comparable. There is no constraint on one option over the other, limiting the amount of glass.
Okay, yeah.
So there's no constraint there.
It doesn't look comparable to me. I would like to see it in that way if it is such. And then I'm also interested in the use of natural air. So are any of these windows going to be able to open? Not, I would assume not on the front there, but throughout the classrooms and such.
Yeah, so natural ventilation is definitely something that's being incorporated in most buildings today based on user comfort, and our lovely temperature range that we have in the Bay Area. So especially like the large community room, that's a great one to use natural ventilation. The community hall at Mitchell Park is naturally ventilated. Buildings that we're designing right now and are under construction right now are using natural ventilation. It's really an exercise we go through with the mechanical engineer and staff and the operations of the space to determine exactly where the operable windows are and how they'll be integrated into the design. But it's definitely...
Is this included in the current costs?
Yes.
It is. Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Oliva?
So, based a little bit back to the revenues, is there a possibility we could get a little bit on the revenues if in fact there was a gym? Because if you had the gym, the cost factor, but you also have the revenues that it would create, could we get some sort of projected revenues on that?
The funding, if I might, Ms. Oliva, the funding that we are currently seeking to just build the community center,
Yes.
the gymnasium would be a completely separate aspect that was never presented to the public. So I think it really confuses the issue at this point in time.
I'm not trying to confuse the issue. All I just wanted to see if there was some way that we can generate some income in order to offset the expense.
So the cost recovery, so gyms typically have higher cost recovery because you can program them and rent them more readily, but it will not offset the capital cost. And so in terms of offsetting the cost to build the gym, you cannot count on your revenue generation to assist in doing payback. It's still a higher cost recovery, but it's not like 110% cost recovery that's going to give you additional money to help pay back a loan or something.
Is there any way that we could maybe just see per square footage what it would look like?
We can probably ask Ballard King to get us that general number. Yeah,
Awesome.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
They did do the gym analysis. We don't have it.
Yes, we actually have the information, and we'll be able to pass it along.
Thank you.
Along the lines with revenue, and having read the park inventory and the comparison of the number of staff that we have now and the amount of facilities that we have or that we would have with this, when you hear some of the feedback from the people who didn't vote for Measure II, it was, we're building something too large. And I try to get back to them and say, well, if we didn't have the big room, that reduces a revenue stream. And then the counterpoint is, well, maybe we shouldn't be renting it. So I'm trying to get my hands around, and I think this is what the public is going to need to hear from us. If we have a recreation department and we have a certain number of staff and a certain amount of square footage, are we going to make more money on a building this size than if we shrunk it down? And I'm hoping the answer is, if you don't build it large enough, you're losing that long-term opportunity to make revenue to help counter the cost of recreation programs. So sorry, I'm trying to balance these two different reports in there with our staffing, because if I read the park inventory staffing, we're considerably lower in staff than of cities of our same size and financial arrangement. But I could be wrong there.
So we can actually give you the breakdown of the revenue and which of the spaces are generating the revenue that we've shown in this operational analysis. And the majority of the revenue is coming from the community hall.
Which then in turn offsets the prices we charge for all of the other programs.
All the programs,
I'm not sure the public, it's not something you intuitively grasp. So whatever we can do to help with that is good.
So we can show that revenue opportunity with the community hall and how it supports the other classrooms, the other spaces that are then being programmed heavily for your local users with your recreation programming.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Holliber, please.
Thank you. So from the existing city budget, the expenses of approximately $1.66 million, do we know about how much of that would be in the administration category, or staffing, or whatever that is?
So in this slide, it's broken out by program. So staff is allocated within the different programs. But as an example, so what we're calling administration is typically the overhead that's not necessarily tied to a particular program. Facility rentals, there's kind of an administrative person as well as a staff that's doing setups and breakdowns. And contract classes has a small staff component, but mostly it's payments to instructors that are running classes out of our facilities. And city-provided classes tend to have the most staff costs. There are things like youth sports or adult sports where staff are needed to coordinate teams, coach teams, lead programs, summer camps, that type of thing.
So, but do we know what that currently is?
The number of staff or the number?
The breakdown of what would be considered administration, what would be rentals, contracted classes, and city provide classes.
So the second column here is expenses broken into those program areas. Are you looking for what staffing is allocated?
Correct. No.
I think you're looking for a percentage of like management versus employee, and looking at the overhead rate.
So the expenses would be expected to increase from the current budget, which is about $1.6 million, to the $2.3 million.
So we need to break out that administration.
Do we know where the cost increases would be? Is it mostly in administration? Is it mostly in the actual programs, or what?
We have the detail. We can give you a little more detail at our next presentation. So I don't think we have it right at our fingertips.
I guess what I was leading towards was, would it be possible to, run the types of, recreational programming that we're envisioning here on perhaps a little bit of a leaner budget, so that, we're getting more revenue, but the expenses aren't necessarily increasing from 1.6 to 2.3. And we can.
And I think as the recreation department has been, they've come under a new department head and they're evaluating all their programs, I think they'll continue to find opportunities for that. They've definitely looked closely as we did this year's budget and were able to identify a lot of opportunities. I think they'll continue to do that, whether it makes more sense, for example, for a program to be contracted versus to do it as staff, as a city-provided class. So that's part of the challenge with this type of analysis is there will be ongoing reviews and operational analysis, and I don't think that'll stop, even as we go into a new center. So,
if I may, I think this is where we start to get in a little bit of trouble, because we call it administration, and somebody's going to take this and say, "Oh my God, look at how much the city manager's making, and that's not the case. So I think that we need to break that down and be a little bit more clear on, by providing these programs, that's going to be more staff running and operating the programs and the staff that's actually implementing the programs, not administration as some may define it. So I think we probably should break that down and say, of this, 3% is overhead for management, 97% is actually for operating and running the program and delivering the employees, the coaches, the referees, the instructors, the materials and all that to actually implement. I think that's where we want to go with this.
And where potential efficiencies could be.
Yeah. So there's not so the listening public don't misread this as this is administration.
Thank you.
Are we done?
And if I may, one more, Mayor, we'll break this down and provide it to the council and get it up on our website to augment this presentation so it's clear.
Okay. Councilman Peppin.
So, of course, we are worried about the funding aspect here. And you're talking about an $800,000 difference. And you're looking, I guess, at this point in time for guidance from the council? No?
No, yes, we are. Yes.
You are?
We'll affirm it at a following meeting, but we are looking to hear some discussion at this, and a final decision would be part of your next council meeting.
Okay, well, from my perspective is that we would like to see this progress as quickly as possible in the most efficient manner possible, because we are concerned with escalating costs. We have a certain amount of funding available, and we need to get working on alternative funding. We appreciate the voters who supported Measure II. We were just 388 votes short. And I think we could have gotten there with a little more education from the community, or to the community, as to what the benefits are here. And the reason, as Ms. Schneider pointed out, we have a much greater population at this point in time, which will be growing with new developments throughout. And I think we can all agree on the extreme importance of a recreation center like this moving forward. Even our temporary facility is getting some good use. And if anybody hasn't been in there yet, please check it out. It's very nice, but this not built to last. And that's why I think we as a council are committed to moving forward for a permanent facility, working with the community. So, I think we have to be as cost effective as we possibly can. So those are my thoughts moving forward. Go ahead, Ms. Schneider. Yes.
These are my general questions. Some of these staff have heard when we had our one-on-ones. Tonight we're going to be talking about community garden. I assume that whatever the council decides on community garden shouldn't have an impact of what's happening from your end.
Zero.
Okay. Solar, I assume we're going to be looking for all solar grant funding. I saw in your plans the vending aspects. I know that that's more of an FF&E, and I will never remember what FF&E stands for. It's furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Just when we come to vending machines and bottled water, let's talk, because there's an environmental cost to bottled water. So the seniors, in terms of the two designs, I know I was one of the council members that didn't like the idea of seniors being on the second floor. And one of the things that we talked about just a few days ago was Group 4 and staff having a sit down with the seniors to really work that out. But you mentioned something, and I'm hoping you can elaborate, that the actual handrails of the stairs can be designed to facilitate seniors getting down from the second floor should there be a power failure and the elevator stop working.
Yeah, emergency evacuation. There are ways to facilitate emergency evacuation in addition to places of refuge that are occurring by code at exit stairways, rated corridors, rated stairways. There are chairs that you can use to do emergency evacuation downstairs, and those can be done by staff or firemen that come in case of an emergency. And those are typical in evacuation procedures and staff trainings.
So the reason I bring this up, and this is a lot for the audience at home, one of the reasons for moving seniors upstairs was to move them away from small children, because small children get excited, they run, they might trip a senior, they fall, and that's very dangerous to a senior. I guess just to let you know where I am now more open to the seniors on the second floor if they're okay with that. I still like the idea, because I heard from many seniors that they want that separation. So I know it's kind of a hard choice. You put them upstairs, they're separated, but if the daycare center is down on the first floor and the seniors are across the hall, you're going to have the two groups mixing. So I look forward to hearing what you're going to get from direct information from the seniors on that. Parking for the size of city size.
If I might, real quick.
Yeah, I had one more thing on FF&Es.
Yeah,
Okay.
just on the senior thing.
Yeah.
If I might, thank you very much. And the Senior Advisory Committee has been an active participant in this entire process. So we have worked very closely with them. I understand your concerns, but they have been okay with the second floor aspect in that they, and it really wasn't being separate from the children. It was just more of a noise thing, and they were comfortable with their own area and aspect to the center. So they have really been so active in this whole process. So I think we may be okay on that front. So I just wanted to add that in. If that's okay.
The other thing that we talked about was FF&E, and it may be too soon. But if you're going to come back to with more finances, identifying FF&Es that can be adopted by the community. I'd love to see a list for that. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment on that one. So because I know three of us are Lions up here, I've long hoped that the Lions would adopt something in the kitchen because they love to cook. And I hope that the youth groups would like to participate in fundraising for the equipment that would go into the youth center, things like that. So if we can start boiling down what some of those opportunities are, and then, that might make the public feel a little bit more comfortable with the price tag.
My question now is the cost comparable to what is? I mean, this is not a revenue generating activity. It's not meant to make a profit. So, in that respect, I don't think it's appropriate, from my opinion, to talk to it as. I mean, we want to do as much cost recovery and make it most useful as possible. But for those people who think this is going to be a profit-driven activity, it is not. It is a lifestyle or just an enhancement to our community that's really needed. A large space is always utilized. Is very necessary. All communities have found that a large meeting space is absolutely essential to the community. It provides opportunity for people to get together, and we use it a lot. We used it a lot for not only physical activities, gatherings, community events, and without that space, we have a real difficult. We're struggling to find a place to do community events, and so there's an intrinsic value that people don't really appreciate. So my question is, given this size and cost, is it comparable to what other communities, facilities are? So it's not outlandishly expensive.
No. And again, we're not building a commercial building. We're not building a residence. We're building a building that is being designed and constructed to last, 40 to 50 years. and be able to be renovated and upgraded to last another 30 or 40 years beyond that. It is construction for a public facility, a civic facility. That's an investment for today as well as tomorrow.
And it's extremely, it's more energy efficient, so it'll run more cheaper than what we had before, and twice, almost a third size larger, right?
60%.
So I think that it's a good investment for our community. Any other questions? I'd like to, we'll just take a break. Then the regular meeting at 7 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to, no other question. We're going to carry this discussion on, I'm sure, in our agenda anyway, so there's no portion to it. So
It is on the agenda this
yeah.
evening.
Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break. Okay, welcome to the meeting of the Millbrae City Council, February 26, 7 o'clock. If you're looking for someplace else, you're in the wrong place. And I'd like to wish Councilwoman Gina Pappin a happy birthday. And also, Nicole, happy birthday, Nicole. All right. Sorry you had to come to a council meeting. All right. So can I have a roll call, please?
All council members are present.
Thank you. And so can we have the chairperson of the Senior Advisory Committee, Marlene McBride, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marlene. Don't go anywhere, Marlene. You're doing the first presentation. Yeah, please.
Mayor Lee, council members, and staff. My name is Marlene McBride, and I have the opportunity of presenting to you some of the activities of the Senior Advisory Committee. You each have a flyer, and one of the biggest activities that we're having now at first is to protect yourself from mail and financial fraud. The Millbrae Senior Advisory Committee invites you to a free senior scam workshop. The presenters, Jeff Fitch, Postal Inspector, U.S. Postal Inspection Service, San Francisco Division, and a representative from San Mateo County District Attorney's Office of Consumer Protection. What will you learn? They are simple and practical steps to help avoid becoming a victim. And we have found that there are many people that have participated or have become involved with different scams. And so this is really very important. It's going to be March the 8th, Friday, from 10:30 to 11:30, and it will be in the Millbrae Community Center, which is 623 Magnolia Avenue, Millbrae. And it's in the Great Room, and many people don't know where the Great Room is. It's the largest room over there, and lots of activities going on there. If you arrive early, there's coffee and light snacks. And the two individuals that really mentored or coordinated this are Adrian Bush, who is our senior recreational services manager, and Marge Colapiatro. And our next thing that we have is a senior social hour. And one of the reasons for having this is that we want people to get to know each other and get to know our Millbrae Senior Center. So it's an activity, and it's only going to be the last Friday of every month from 9:30 to 10:30 at the community center. And then we have our senior Millbrae Senior Line, which is a bi-monthly newsletter. And it has all of the activities listed on front. And if you are not a member or have not received one, or you can go online and get it, or you can call 259-2360, which is the number for the Recreation Department. And if you have any questions about what is happening with the Recreation Center, remember this number, 259-2360. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Also, I just want to thank your committee. You guys work very hard. Don't forget to RSVP for the birthday luncheon. That's really important so they know who's coming. And also, the senior committee also helps sponsor the self-help for the elderly luncheon every Monday and Wednesdays and Fridays, 10:30 to 1:30 every day. So it's $3 suggested donation.
It's every day. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, not every
And
day.
we are also have an English class that follows 12:15 to 1
Great.
afterward.
Fantastic. So they're really busy. Yes, Councilman Oliva.
So I was going to say, if anybody on the dais here could actually help get this out for the scam protection, if we could put it on your Facebook page, and if we can help get it on our Facebook page for the city, and everybody could share it. I think they're anticipating to have a full house.
They are at least 100 people, and they really feel it's something important and very something that needs to be put on our calendars. Friday, March the 8th, from 10:30 to 11:30 at the rec center.
I think that it's really, really important to get it out to our seniors. And if we could get a social media or talk to your neighbor, any which way, shape, or form you can get it out, I would appreciate that for this cause.
I just want to add to this, we were helping a lady that was 97, and I was gone for an hour. She called me 8 times because she had received a scam over the telephone, was trying to get her involved in her finances. And so I finally was able to reach her, but she was so nervous calling me that many times. So there is a need, and we need to follow through with this program.
And Mayor, I did get a few requests that what language it would be in. And it is only in English this time, but maybe we can work towards getting something in Chinese as well in the near future.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, if I might add to that too, mail fraud, phone fraud, we all get these calls regularly. Just do not give your personal information when someone calls you. Over the phone. And I will note that, too, if we could include in our information here, the Attorney General's office, the state of California, has a website. If you are approached by any quote-unquote nonprofit, you can look on the website to see who the valid nonprofits are, because there are many scams. It might sound like a veteran support group or anything like that. Several less than legitimate ones have been prosecuted recently. So if you want to double check before you contribute to anything or you're approached by anyone, we all get calls. I get calls in English and Chinese. It's just, do not give your information over the phone. So I agree, and if we could get both versions somehow on Millbrae television so people can watch them, we need to protect our seniors and everyone in our community from these fraudulent operators.
And if you don't have that flyer, there's one in our senior line, and that senior line will be going out. We also have lots of resources and helpful hints for not just the elderly or the seniors, but for anyone that is in need of it. Okay.
Councilwoman Oliva.
One last comment is that I'm the liaison for the seniors, so that's why
I wanted to mention that. Yes.
So a few people had asked if out of the city members or out of the city people could attend, and that is they're totally welcome. So if somebody has a ride that lives in South City, San Bruno, Burlington, wherever it is, they're welcome also to come. So
and encouraged.
Thank you, Marlene. Encouraged to come.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So next on the agenda is the Chamber's annual awards. Can I ask Lorianne Richardson to come up and begin the program? President and CEO of the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, Mayor Lee, council members, and guests. Thank you all for joining us on this blustery night. Tonight is actually our 20th annual Millbrae Excellence in Business Award, so kind of a special year for us. And when it began, it was back in 1999, and there was only one award at that time, the Business of the Year. And tonight, we have 9 honorees in 7 categories. So please bear with us, and we'll get through them as quickly and efficiently as we can. In addition to the Chamber of Commerce Awards, each one of the honorees gets a beautiful commendation, and they will be getting those from the City of Millbrae, San Mateo County Supervisor Dave Pine's office, California State Assembly Member Kevin Mullen's office, and he's represented by District Representative Kevin Fong. And I should add that Legislative Aide Randy Torrijos is here from Dave Pine's office. And then we have Senator Jerry Hill's office, and also certificates from Congresswoman Jackie Spears' office, but they weren't able to join us, but were kind enough to do that. So I want to get down to our first reward, which actually is the Downtown Beautification Award. So this one is an award only for businesses, developers. It's for projects, it's non-residential. And the criteria is a project that's an enhancement or improvement in the downtown area. It should have been recently built or installed or significantly improved or re-landscaped. And we consider overall aesthetics and the possible impact on the business district. And if you've been downtown over the past couple years, I think you've noticed quite a few changes, improvements, and enhancements, like the new lighting, new planters, even some public art, like that yellow bicycle down there on the corner of Magnolia and Hillcrest. And all these things, they're visual improvements. We also have the festoon lighting, the lighting LEDs on the palm trees, which have recently actually been brightened, and they're on more trees than ever. Those kinds of things actually are very important. They make Millbrae more welcoming, more walkable, and also more enjoyable to stroll. And all of that helps attract and retain business in Millbrae. So tidying up is actually another great beginning. And if you notice the news racks, we used to have quite a few places in Millbrae with news racks. They've kind of been corralled to 2 main areas, which is in front of the post office and also in front of Walgreens. And that's kind of freed up the sidewalk space and just kind of made it decluttered. And not as visible and definitely not glamorous is the completed sewer main project along Broadway. But really, infrastructure downtown is so important. And when you have modernization of the infrastructure, you're not only preventing potential problems, you're also making it more attractive for incoming business and to retain the business and merchants that you already have. So we're very happy about that. It was 1,500 feet all along Broadway and into the easements, and that project is complete. And that went from Taylor Boulevard to Victoria Avenue. So arguably, I guess the most attractive improvement was the gazebo that was installed. We celebrated the ribbon cutting in December. It's at La Serena Plaza, right outside the library, and if you haven't seen it, it's just down the street. It's got beautiful lighting, so it looks good day and night. It's providing public seating, and it's just a really nice addition. And for those of you who may remember, it was at the old community center that burned down, so it's kind of our last remaining relic of that. So it's a sentimental bit of the past, but it's also a really pretty addition kind of to the Civic Center Plaza area of downtown. So we're very happy about that. And in recognition of the improvements and the enhancements in the downtown area, very pleased to present 2018 Downtown Beautification Award to the City of Millbrae. So Mayor Lee, if you would like to come do the honors. Some certificates.
Oh, thank you. Wow, those are signatures on this.
I know. Here you go. Enjoy your certificate from yourselves. Here. Thank you, Jen. Okay. And we have our commendation presenters. You guys want to... So we have all the aforementioned commendations, so you can really add to your wall, your hallway, really line it with some nice things.
Let me ask our Public Works Director, Key Lim, to come up here. He was a major part of that. And invite any council members who would like to come down here. I just like to also say that part of the project down at the Broadway and Hillcrest is mostly a incentives to help a lot of our downtown businesses to get involved in making our downtown more walkable, enjoyable, and a pleasant place to visit. And so, in order to make anybody who has a business knows that you have to invest in a business, otherwise you're not going to get anything out of it or decline. So the investment was made by the city on a conscientious basis to provide a really nice atmosphere, and that intersection was just the beginning to try to demonstrate what could be done if we all banded together as a business district as well. So actually, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Pappen and Oliva, who provided a lot of who did most of the work on that part. There was a lot of controversy, I understand that, but to me, it's an investment in the downtown, and people complain about being dirty and us, the city not taking care of it. Well, we put the money into it, and I don't think we regret any of it. We put big belly cans. A lot of cities are always commenting how clean and how effective those cans are, and they were not $40,000 as somebody suggested. But so anyway, they were very cost effective because it made it so then we didn't have to have somebody go there 3 times a day to empty out the trash. So now the trash doesn't only has to be attended to maybe once every 3 or 4 days. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. So Key, I think you are very instrumental, and I think you should be up here too.
Where do I stand?
You stand right here. Just stand up here.
I want to say thank you for Annie Oliva for those festoon lights because I love those.
And just real quick for the public that's listening, the sewer improvement plan and the condition of Broadway is going to be repaved. So we're not 100% done. So Broadway will be repaved.
Everybody was talking.
One, two, three, right here.
Thank you, City of Millbrae.
And before you move on there, city staff was huge in all of these aspects of enhancing the downtown, the gazebo, and the palm tree lights, which you can see from miles away now.
You can see those from space.
We like those. That's good. That's okay.
That's great. And I just wanted to mention there are a lot more improvements even than the ones I said, but it's a 2018 award, so I was told to kind of keep it to the most recent. But, definitely take a look. You'll see a lot of changes, and there's more to come. It's really going to look great.
Well, we appreciate the acknowledgement by the chamber.
Oh, absolutely. When I was thinking of that award, and we were all, what did you really notice? I went, the city. The city has been the main improver, so there you go. Okay, well, now we're going to move on to the awards that we call Community Partners Awards, and those do go to businesses that consistently and have a long history of supporting Millbrae schools especially and our community. So these are the businesses that give back, and we want to recognize 3 of those special businesses tonight. And the first one is Provident Credit Union. Actually, Karen Batuki's here from the Millbrae Education Foundation, and I think we're going to have Karen go ahead and present these awards. So thank you, Karen.
Good evening. I'm very pleased to be here tonight to be able to present these wonderful awards to 3 amazing businesses that support not only our schools but our community at large. And the first recipient of the Community Partners Award was established in 1950 to serve educators in Northern California. It started as Bay Section Credit Union and became California Teachers Association, and then finally established as Provident Credit Union. With its headquarters in Redwood Shores, Provident Credit Union has grown to be one of the largest in the state and now serves over 100,000 members and 19 branches throughout the Bay Area, including our very own Millbrae branch, which was opened in 1990. Since Provident Credit Union is a not-for-profit and member-owned. They believe in reinvesting into the local communities to support education, nonprofits, and business by delivering financial education, scholarships, and fundraising programs. This can be seen in communities across Northern California, and we clearly see it and experience it here in Millbrae. Provident actively supports our Millbrae schools through a wonderful relationship with the Millbrae Education Foundation, MEF. And in 2012, Provident introduced a generous 75-75 promotion through MEF to benefit the parents and our schools. For the past 5 years, Provident Credit Union has participated as a gold level sponsor for Millbrae Education Foundation's Community Challenge Grant, donation days, district-wide walkathons, and our first and second annual gala, the second annual gala coming up on Saturday. Provident is also the proud co-sponsor of the All-Star Teacher Award with Comcast, a program designed to recognize a middle school or high school teacher and awarding their school with $20,000. A few years ago, Mr. Wayne Phillips was honored at Mills High School. In addition, Provident actively supports many aspects and organizations in Millbrae by participating in events such as Millbrae's Relay for Life, now the North Peninsula Relay for Life, the Art and Wine Festival, the Japanese Cultural Festival, and the Millbrae Lunar Festival, just to name a few. They also supported the Millbrae 5K fun runs to benefit the Millbrae Community Center. Whenever there's a worthy cause or community event to support in Millbrae, you can count on seeing Mary Lou and her team and the great folks at Provident Credit Union there. And so it is with great pleasure that we present the Provident Credit Union with the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce Community Partners Award. We have Assistant Manager Norma Gomez coming up to receive the award.
But do you want to bring up all the other ones too? Come on, guys. Oh no, don't sit down.
Great. The next recipient of the Community Partners Award is much more than a martial arts school. One Martial Arts is a family-oriented community dedicated to helping each student live their best life. Kim and Brennan Belizo opened their original location 18 years ago in San Francisco, and their second location here in Millbrae opened in February of 2015. One Martial Arts features award-winning programs for people of all ages that are focused on character development and life skills education. Their caring instructional staff believes in traditional martial arts values such as respect, discipline, and commitment. They balance their teachings with progressive and innovative methods to help their students succeed in life. One Martial Arts' genuine passion is to serve the community by helping people live their best. They not only teach this through martial arts, but model by example. One Martial Arts actively supports our community in all our schools in Millbrae, including St. Dunstan's and our Millbrae schools, directly and through a wonderful relationship with the Millbrae Education Foundation. Here are just some of the ways. They support the community through donations and auction items that they donate to local schools in San Francisco and Millbrae. They donate over 50 birthday parties a year. They sponsor the Millbrae Historical Society's children's holiday parties, offer free child care for the community from 5 to 9 p.m. once a month through Parent Night Out. They offer women's self-defense classes to the community. They host free holiday parties for kids in the community. They provide free cotton candy and water bottles at local events ranging from MEF, AYSO, and St. Dunstan's. They sponsor Millbrae girls softball teams. They offer volunteer opportunities to kids in the community that would like to be camp counselors. They sponsor each elementary school in Millbrae District by providing childcare for their annual fundraisers, and they watch all our kids at no cost, and then the money raised goes to the PTA or the organization. That's running the event. They have also provided free demos as entertainment at MEF and elementary school events. And One Martial Arts has been a key MEF sponsor for the last 4 years, donating prize incentives and sponsoring our walkathons, donation days, and our recent gala events. Whenever there is a school MEF or community event going on in Millbrae, you will definitely see Kim and Brennan there with their One Martial Arts team. Their dedication and generosity to our community is commendable, and it's with great pleasure that we present them with the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce Community Partners Award.
You got more behind you there, gentlemen. Right.
Great. We have one more Community Partners Award to present this evening. The next award goes to the South San Francisco Scavenger Company, which has provided waste and recycling collection services since 1914 when the company was founded by Angelo Gusliani. South San Francisco Scavenger Company pioneered the transition from open dumps to the sanitary landfills of today and created innovative collection techniques, instituted curbside recycling collection, and developed award-winning state-of-the-art waste management. The company consistently strives to give back and make our community a better place to live by sponsoring community events, hosting an annual food drive, donating to local charities, and even maintaining a section of our Bay Trail. Company outreach specialists provide facility tours that teach local students and businesses to reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost. I doubt there's an organization in Millbrae that hasn't benefited from South San Francisco Scavenger Company's generosity. Here is a list, but there are more. This is just a partial list. The North Peninsula Relay for Life, formerly Millbrae Relay for Life, Millbrae Youth and Senior Programs, Millbrae City Sponsored and Community Events, Millbrae Lions Club and Lions Baseball, Millbrae Community Foundation, Millbrae Girls Softball, Millbrae Girl Scout and Boy Scouts, Millbrae Community Youth Center, Millbrae Art and Wine Festival, Millbrae Japanese Cultural Festival, the Rebuild Millbrae Community Center Fund, Millbrae Schools, both public and private, and the Millbrae Education Foundation. And notably, South City Scavenger has been a key sponsor of the Millbrae Education Foundation, I believe, for the last 7 years, and will also be sponsoring our gala coming up on Saturday as well. So, with President Doug Button at the helm, South San Francisco Scavengers continues to fulfill its mission statement, which reads in part, to help create a sense of partnership between our company and the communities we serve. And they've certainly kept that promise. It's easy to see why South San Francisco Scavenger Company deserves the 2019 Community Partners Award, and it's my honor to present to them tonight. So would Paul Formosa and Teresa Montgomery please come up to accept the award on behalf of South City Scavengers?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and staff, and members of the community. I'd just like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the recognition. We very much appreciate it. We're very happy to be involved with all of these events. Actually, I don't know where you got that long list, Teresa. Good job. But we're very happy to be involved in Millbrae to give back to the community There's a lot going on here, and it's a wonderful town, and we're very happy to be here. So thank you very much for the recognition. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Well done. And our next award is the 2018 Distinction in Tourism Award. And this is an award given to a hotel that has exceptional reviews, exceptional service, just all around doing a really good job in the community. And this year, it's the Westin San Francisco Airport. The Westin, as you know, is just 2 miles from San Francisco, so it's got a location every other hotel, I'm sure, is very jealous of. And there's a lot of favorable reviews about that. It's at One Old Bayshore Highway. And it offers domestic and international guests really an exceptional stay in Millbrae. It's a 7-story, 397-room hotel, and it was opened 37 years ago in October of 1987. All the guest rooms have double-pane windows for those who think, well, that's so close to the airport, but you will have a quiet stay. So they also have the Westin's signature heavenly bed, and traveler schedules are accommodated with 24-hour room service, and that's from their on-site Grill and Vine restaurant. They also have a 24-hour state-of-the-art fitness center, so you can work out whenever the mood strikes you. There is a comfortable lobby bar, and they do have an indoor swimming pool, so you can swim in December if you like. And you're craving a Starbucks, don't worry, it's right there down in the lobby. And I found out a few interesting facts about the Westin. It was one of the few hotels that stayed open after the Loma Prieta earthquake hit in 1989. It had minimal damage. And I think a lot of you know former President Barack Obama. That's where he stayed twice when he came here. They've also hosted Steve Jobs, Jane Fonda, the band Earth, Wind, and Fire, and several NFL teams. And also in partnership with Millbrae Sister Cities Commission, they did host the the mayor and delegation of Hanyu, Japan. And Westin has had a lot of restaurants over the year. Before Grill and Vine, do you guys remember the Bayshore Diner? That one had roller skating servers. It was really fun. They had the Benchmark restaurant. That one had a 42-ounce steak on the menu. Never tried that. And then now they're showcasing light, fresh foods with locally sourced ingredients because the Westin's core value is wellness. Barely, the Westin San Francisco Airport creates a superior guest experience, and that keeps visitors coming back to Millbrae. And what does that do? It bolsters our local economy, so we like that. And tonight, we have someone here accepting the award is the complex general manager responsible for a lot of the wonderful things that go on between the Westin and the Aloft. It's all together on that one big property. And it is Ricardo Ramirez. And it's my pleasure, if you'd come up here, Ricardo, to award Westin San Francisco Airport with the 2018 Distinction in Tourism Award.
Thank you again. So on behalf of all 220 of my colleagues over at the Westin SFO, a heartfelt thank you, of course, to the Chamber and the City Council for this very nice recognition. We had a great and amazing year in 2018, and with your support, we're looking for another positive year in 2019. So thank you again.
Right.
Our next award is called the Chamber Excellence Award, and this one recognizes an outstanding Millbrae-based organization for exceptional effort in any area of business, community development, or other exceptional service to the community. And we're going to have our Chamber Board Chair, Mary Lou Edwards of Provident Credit Union, come on up, and she will present this year's Chamber Excellence Award. Mary Lou?
Good evening, everyone. I'm proud to present the 2018 Chamber Excellence Award to Mills High School Interact Club. Mills High School Interact Club is a Rotary International sponsored youth organization that strives to better its local and global community through service. Their primary focus as a club is giving back to the community and fostering leadership and interpersonal skills in their members. Since their establishment, they have always stood for Rotary's motto of service above self. Interact Club has, in the past years, raised money for Relay for Life, which helps raise funds for fighting against cancer. In 2018, they have raised over $500 for the organization. When it comes to raising funds, each year, the much larger Interact District 5150, which governs all Interact clubs in Marin, San Francisco, and San Mateo counties, chooses an international project, and the Mills High School Interact Club has done various fundraisers to help fund money towards their annual projects. They have raised over $450 for H2 Open Doors, which helps provide clean, distilled water for third world countries. Raising funds is not the only activity they get into. The Mills High School Interact Club also gives back to the community in several ways. For example, they run the Millbrae Spring Carnival, where they provide carnival games, face painting, and an Easter egg hunt for kids. They also run the Millbrae Halloween Carnival. And as far as events, they also host the Mills Interact Spring in Bloom dinner auction every year. You can also find them at the soda water booth at the annual Millbrae Art and Wine Festival to fundraise for their club. In past years, their club also donated items to a homeless shelter. These interactors have also visited kids with special needs at the community gate path, and during winter time, they go over to help decorate their rooms with Christmas decor to help make their place lively. It's my honor to present Mills High School Interact Club with our 2018 Chamber Excellence Award. And I'd like to call on Caitlin Chan, Herc Kementera, Kiana Chuk, Desiree Lin, and Tiffany Ng to receive their award.
Hey guys, you can stand in front of the podium to have more space. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Mary Lou. And our next award is called the Chamber President's Award. And this award is not bestowed every year. It's only given when the Chamber of Commerce CEO, and that would be me, wishes to give special recognition to an individual or a group who quietly makes Millbrae a better place. Such a person is Millbrae Farmers Market Manager James Barrett, known to most of you as Jim. Jim was born in Tyler, Texas. He graduated from Texas A&M University with a Bachelor's of Science in Entomology. His entomology degree earned him a direct commission to enter the U.S. Army, where he became an officer in 1969. During his enlistment, he was stationed at several places: Fort Sam, Houston, Texas, Fort Baker in Sausalito, and then he went to Seoul, Korea for a year, reaching the rank of captain within 3 years. During Jim's last year in the Army, he met his wife, Rosie. They married at Old St. Mary's in San Francisco, raised their 2 children, Vincent and Vanessa, in Millbrae, where Jim and his wife still live. After his Army career, Jim managed his wife's family's international import-export business for 9 years, and then he bought his own rice distribution company called Gordon Sales. Yes, that's Jim's real job when he's not moonlighting managing our farmers market, which really he calls a hobby. Luckily for us, Jim enjoys gardening and growing things. And in 2010, he had this big surplus of tomatoes and pepper plants. So a friend suggested, why don't you apply to the Millbrae Farmers Market? Then he became a vendor. And, he sold all his plants, and he thought that was that. He was working under the then manager, Frank Catania. And when Frank Catania retired, Frank was wonderful. Everyone loved Frank. After 17 years at our market, former CEO John Ford said, well, Jim, how would you like to manage the market? And I think it took a little arm twisting, but Frank and his wife Melba definitely got him to consider doing it, and he took on what he views as his future retirement job. So the Chamber is thrilled, and believe me, it isn't easy to find someone who wants to get up at 4:30 a.m. every Saturday morning to report to work by 6 a.m. and at an 8 a.m. market. We do have the earliest opening market in the area. But Jim is devoted to Millbrae. This is his community. He lives here. He takes pride in running the best farmers market possible for his friends, his neighbors, and his community. And the Chamber of Commerce could not be more proud to have such a dedicated market manager. His efforts, reliability, and stable leadership these past 9 years have allowed us to continue to give the hardworking farm families the opportunity to sell their farm fresh products directly to Millbrae families every week. Rain or shine, Jim is out there. And so if you drive by the 200 block of Broadway at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, you'll see Jim hauling everything in to transform the parking lot into an open-air market. He says he looks forward to the time he spends on Saturday mornings with the vendors and the customers that he's come to have good friendships with. He even got a visit from Congresswoman Jackie Spear, and you'll see the picture up there. She stopped by to shop and took a very nice picture with Jim. So for all he does, it's my great pleasure to award the 2018 Chamber President's Award to James Barrett. Jim? Would you like to say a few words?
Just a couple. Thank you very much for this award. It's a great pleasure to receive it. And I'd like to invite all of you people to come over to the market every Saturday morning, 49 weeks a year, and support our vendors and our other farmers for doing all their hard work. It's a very difficult job for them. Thank you very much.
Well said. Thank you, Jim. Yes, it is. Here we go. And our next award is the Restaurant of the Year Award, and that award will also be presented by Mary Lou Edwards of Provident Credit Union. Mary Lou?
It is my pleasure to present the 2018 Restaurant of the Year Award. Lai Lai Restaurant has been serving delicious Chinese cuisine to Millbrae for 36 years, specializing in Mandarin cuisine. Family owned and operated, it all started when current owner Gary Lynn's Uncle Jimmy, the longtime former owner of Lai, worked as a busboy at Joseph Westlake in Daly City and dreamed of opening his own restaurant someday. In 1983, Jimmy chose 334 Broadway as the site of his new restaurant endeavor. The rest is Millbrae history, with Jimmy's restaurant, along with Jimmy himself, remaining a local favorite for over 30 years. Generations of Millbraeans and diners from all over the Bay Area have enjoyed Lai's clean, well-maintained restaurant where the food is always fresh, flavorful, and of course delicious, as their 4-star Yelp rating indicates. A new era began for Lai in 2013. Jimmy stepped down and passed the reins to his nephews, Vincent and Gary. Both nephews gained valuable experience working under the mentorship of their uncle. Gary started working at Lai as a teenager, washing dishes, then worked his way up to being a server. Vincent acquired skills working in the kitchen, as well as running operations in the dining room. What makes Lai really special, besides the terrific food, is that every time you step into the restaurant, you know you'll be treated well and will have a pleasant time there. At Lai, customers' needs always come first. Their service is legendary. Whether you're a party of one or a huge group of 80, Lai staff makes everyone feel right at home. From local favorites like delicious walnut prawns to their perfect spot stickers and chow mein with handmade noodles, you can count on Lai for something to please every family member. And you don't have to miss Jimmy. Most of the time, he's still there laughing and joking with customers, helping his nephews out. He claims he's staying out of trouble. We're just glad this wonderful gem of a family restaurant is still going strong. Lai let us know how thankful they are to the community for the chance to be part of their customers' families for many generations. They hope you'll come in and make Lai a part of your family too. And it's my honor to present Lai Restaurant with our 2018 Millbrae Restaurant of the Year Award. And Gary Lynn is here to receive the award. Congratulations.
And finally, our final award of the night, the big one, is the 2018 Millbrae Business of the Year Award. And this award will be presented by Rotary President Janet McCauley.
Don't wander too far. No, I will. Mayor Lee, City Council members and staff, citizens of Millbrae. Millbrae Lock's owner, Vern Bruce, graduated from San Francisco State University with a bachelor's degree in business management in 1979. Before he graduated, even before he graduated, Vern put what he learned to good use, opening Millbrae Lock in 1978 in the quaint storefront at 311 El Camino Real. I love that, the quaint storefront. Don't you like that, Mayor Lee? I thought so. Where he and his staff have served generations of Millbrae residents as well as people from all over the Bay Area. Millbrae Lock provides everything from safes, locks, and keys to locksmith services. Over the years, Vern kept adding to his professional expertise. He joined the Associated Locksmiths of America in 1982, the Safe and Vault Technicians Association 1987. In 1988, Vern got his California contractor's license and achieved his designation as registered locksmith from the Associated Locksmiths of America, ALOA for short. And in 1989, Vern got his certified professional locksmith designation from ALOA. There'll be a quiz on this later, so please pay attention. He also became a leader of the business community, joining the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce in 1986, serving as a board member through 1997, and chamber president from 1995 through 1996. Vern also stayed active within the broader community, not just its business sector. In 1989, he became president of the Millbrae San Bruno Kiwanis Club and was on the founding committee for Millbrae Farmers Market in 1992. He also served as chair and co-chair of the Millbrae Art and Wine Festival Committee from 1994 to 1997. In 1995, Vern achieved the designation of Certified Master Locksmith. Now, remember about that quiz I told you about? Now, you'll remember back in 1989, he got his Certified Professional Locksmith, and this is his Certified Master Locksmith. He served as president of the Millbrae Historical Society. Have you noticed how all this is kind of folding in together? The Millbrae Historical Society from 1998 to 2001, and as their treasurer from 2001 through present. As if all that wasn't enough, in 2004, Vern founded and still directs the Millbrae Train Museum. From all these accomplishments, you can see that Vern Bruce gives back to his community. He understands that being a good business person means being a good community member. To be considered for the Millbrae Business of the Year Award, a business must pass the Rotary's four-way test. And I'd like to go through that very rapidly. Is it the truth? Does it treat everyone fairly? Does the business build goodwill and community relations? And is our product or service beneficial to all? I kind of merged everything in there together. In the case of Millbrae Lock, all of that is true. And judging from Millbrae Lock's rare 4.5-star rating on Yelp, their customers agree and are grateful for the help they've received from Millbrae Lock. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, where did you go? I told you to stay.
Yes, Jim.
Honestly, on behalf of the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club of Millbrae, it is my pleasure to honor Millbrae Lock as our 2018 Millbrae Business of the Year. Mr. Vern Bruce. I told you to stay. Now, that was the official readout, okay? Let me tell you, as the owner of a 90-year-plus house, 90-plus-year house in Millbrae, this is the only guy you want touching your locks. Mr. Bruce has a respect for the grand old ladies of Millbrae, and I'm not talking about me. You do not want anybody else taking care of your house. Thank you, sir. We got to do the pictures.
You stand here. No, you go in front.
You're not going anywhere, are you? No, not going. All right. I forgot to tell you, I break cameras. Oh, not.
Congratulations, Vernon. Thank you, Janet. That was very entertaining. Would love to hear from you if you'd like to say a few words, Vern.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the vote there that she just mentioned, I want to thank all the judges that I paid off for this. It did seem to pay off. Anyway, Mr. Mayor and council and audience, I just want to thank especially you and the Rotary Club and the Chamber of Commerce for this honor. After all of the honors that were given this evening, it's kind of nice to be last, but I guess not least in this case. But again, thank you, and I want to thank my crew that I have right now, which made all this happen, as well as the crews that I've had over the many years. I've been in business 41 years. Started the business when I was 3 years old, so I'm only 44. And to make a long story short, I want to thank my family. They help out quite a bit and provide a lot of support too, who they said they were too shy to come up here. So I thought I'd embarrass them by saying that. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Certificate. Did you get all your certificates here? Let's see. This is yours. And let's see. Okay, we have a couple others, but well, thank you, and thank you all for sitting and going through that with us. And we hope you learned a thing or two about some of the businesses that maybe you didn't know before. And that concludes our Business Awards presentation. So thank you all, and good night.
No. It's not good night for the council, but thank you, President and CEO of the Chamber, Lorianne Richardson. Can we, everybody, give a big round of applause for all the winners, please? Okay, so we'll wait a few minutes, let the room clear, people to go and do their homework and get on with their lives.
Got some good pictures.
That's it. It's nice spring red, spring festive. I like that color. Yeah, nice to see you too. Okay, I'll see you in the office. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Karen's my cousin. Yeah. That was my job. Great. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's
Congratulations to all the recipients. Oh, get in a picture.
Find out, but I do. I think you hit this spot on the meeting minutes.
Oh, really?
I hope so.
Good job, Marianne.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Very nice.
You're welcome.
Good job, Lorianne.
You too.
Thank you, Wayne.
No, what I mean.
Don't you have a
Yes.
test to fit into for
Well, it might be nice to have just a separate.
Ready? Are we ready, Dave? Are we ready? Oh, go. I'm sorry. Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the council meeting of February 26th. Just want to reiterate the awards were given by the Chamber, Downtown Beautification in the City of Millbrae, Community Partners Awards to Provident Credit Union, One Martial Arts, and South City Scavengers, and the Distinction and Tourist Award to the Weston. The Chamber Excellence Award went to the Mills High School Interact Club. Chamber's President's Award went to Mr. Jim Barrett. Restaurant of the Year this year is Lai Lai Restaurant, and Business of the Year is Millbrae Law. Congratulations to all the recipients, and thank you for the staff for making this happen. Really appreciate it. And of course, we also forgot to mention, I am remiss that Mr. Tom Williams was that the interim city manager, also made possible the renovation of the gazebo. So thank you, Tom. Okay, so moving on to the agenda overview. Tom, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Lee, members of the City Council, Tom Williams, City Manager. So the agenda this evening, we have our calendar events as attachment 2, reports of bills and claims, and a report out of closed session from February 12, 2019. Item number 3 is approval of the meeting minutes from the February 12, 2019 meeting. There are no oral reports from any City Commission chairs. We've heard that earlier from the Senior Advisory Commission. Then we have public communication. That's communication, anything not on the agenda. Then we move to our consent calendar. Item number 5 is a resolution awarding a construction contract to Golden Bay Construction in the amount of $357,162 for the Magnolia Avenue and Richmond Drive bicycle and pedestrian improvement project, establishing a project contingency of $53,000, and approving a professional services agreement with TGKM Traffic Engineers in the amount of $20,000 for the construction engineering, management, and inspection services. Item number 6 is consider adoption of a resolution awarding a contract to Valley Power Systems North Incorporated in the amount of $142,730 for the Hillcrest Generator Service Installation Project and establishing a project contingency in the amount of $21,000. There are no public hearings this evening. Under existing business, item number 7, it is the Recreation Center, the restoration project for the Recreation Center, to receive an information report on the project and seeking a motion and affirmation by the City Council on consensus from the earlier study session this evening for the design options for the Recreation Center building and seeking direction for the completion of the conceptual design project. So very much a milestone on that agenda item this evening. The item number 8 under new business is the review of the Millbrae Community Garden Design and Budget Plan. Then we have council comments, and there is no closed session this evening, Mr. Mayor. So with that, if I may move to a quick review and update. This Saturday, March 2nd, is the Millbrae Lunar New Year Festival. Along with the City Council, Congresswoman Jackie Spear and Assemblymember Kevin Mullen will be present. We will be joined by hundreds of Bay Area and our local Millbrae residents in the festivities to celebrate the Lunar New Year. It is the Year of the Boar. Starting at 10 a.m., the festivities up in the parking lot here at City Hall will start. It will include a variety of traditional Chinese arts and crafts, activities for all children of all ages, stage performances, and Chinese cuisine. At 11:30, we will have the Lucky Golden Boar Parade. and it will proceed through Broadway in downtown Millbrae and end up back here at City Hall. So we have, as I understand it, Mr. Mayor, about 75 entries. And so it should be a really fun, local, entertaining event. On March 13th, that's Wednesday, March 13th, we have an electric vehicle workshop. It's everything you need to know to go EV. Local residents can learn about the benefits of owning an electric vehicle, including battery range and how to charge it, current models that are available, leasing versus buying, and government rebates that are available to help people purchase electric vehicles. The event will be held at the Millbrae Library starting at 6:30 p.m., and attendees can view different electric vehicles in the library parking lot and actually go in and take a look at them at 7 p.m. So you can RSVP for that event on our city's website. So again, that is March 13th at 6:30 p.m. Also, again, to protect yourself from mail and financial fraud, the workshop that was presented earlier, the Millbrae Senior Advisory Committee invites everyone to the free senior scam workshop. Attendees will learn simple and practical steps to help avoid becoming a victim of scams, especially those that target senior citizens. The event will take place on Friday, March 8th. That's a week from this Friday at the Millbrae Community Center here at 623 Magnolia Avenue at City Hall. And the event, it will start at 10:30 a.m. and go till 11:30 a.m. So you can, I recommend that you arrive early to secure a seat because we are looking for and expecting a very large turnout for that. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, that just concludes a summary review of what's happening.
Thank you very much, and thank you for enabling our city to host all these wonderful community events. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, can I have the report by our city attorney?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So at our last meeting, we had a litigation closed session. The closed session addressed the matter of the lawsuit Better Millbrae versus City of Millbrae. There is no action to report out from that session.
Thank you. All right, approval of minutes. Anybody motion to approval of the minutes, please? 1, 2. Okay, let's get a vote. Spence.
The minutes passed unanimously.
Thank you. The suspense was killing me. Okay. On the oral report, none. And any public, I don't have any solicitor public communications. Anybody wants to speak on something that's not on the agenda? I'm not seeing any. Moving on. The consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? Thank you. Votes, please.
Items number 5 and 6 on the consent calendar passed unanimously.
Great, thank you. No public hearings. On to existing business. Recreation Center Restoration Project. Received informational report on the Rec Center project. And this is kind of a continuation of what was reported early on this evening. Thank you. Ms. Hillbrand.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. This evening at 6 o'clock, we held a study session on the proposed final conceptual designs, 2 design options to review. We have Group 4 still here if we'd like to review that at all, or we can continue where we were in the discussions. I think one outcome for us as staff is to bring you back more information on the operational analysis. It was new at this time, but we have confirmed the design has limited impact on the operational analysis. And so we hope to move forward in the discussion of a preferred design and finalize the final report, the conceptual design final report. So at your pleasure, I can bring back that presentation and just take questions, or we can go through it with Group 4 again, or components of it if you'd like.
If no objection from the council, I think we can forego the presentation again. Is that okay? All right. So you want to bring up the pictures. Councilwoman Pappen has a question.
Yeah, where are we on, and I don't know if this is the appropriate thing, the RFP for the licensed childcare, is that?
That the request for statements of interest was issued the 21st of February, I believe it was. So it has been sent out to a number of known providers and posted on the city's website. We gave approximately 45 days for a response, but anticipate that there may be time in negotiations. It's just to get a very high-level letter of who would like to have further discussions on the topic.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Oliva.
Can I just clarify for myself that we are looking for consensus of the design? Yes?
Of the two final designs, which is the design you would like Group 4 and staff to move forward with in the final report?
So with that being said, is there really a need to go through the whole PowerPoint again with regards to the finances? Can we talk about the two designs?
No, we're not going through the whole.
Oh, I thought you said.
No. I asked if it's okay if we skip that.
Oh, I didn't hear the skip word.
That's okay. I didn't say skip. I just said forego, but that's okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
All right.
So I would like to, if I can, at the request of the subcommittee, I'd like to hear from them first on what their preferred design is.
It's up to you. We can go down the line and see, and ask each person what their is that fine?
I think that the study session showed that the subcommittees and the interest groups had a preference for the park lanterns, if I'm correct. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've brought that back up. The subcommittee expressed a light preference. I think you'll see it more in the Advisory and Parks and Recreation Commission, but most groups did identify better with the lantern design, but were conscious of cost and were comfortable with either design as it relates to the cost impacts.
So now I think it's just up to the council as individuals. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. So I do have one question though on the porch design. Is the preschool playground area, is that covered partially, or is that mostly covered in that design? Because I noticed in the roof line it obscured a lot of the playground area.
So the play yard is only covered as far as the overhangs of the roof above. If there was a shade structure or something that needed to be added to that later dates, that could be added. But right now we're kind of showing a tree in the center of the courtyard there. If you can see, the courtyard is this location right here. This is outdoor. It is on the north side of the building, so it will have protective shaded from the building and a fence along the street here. So at this point, there is no proposed cover for that, but the flexibility, sometimes during rainy seasons, you can put those awnings that project straight out for added weather protection and inclement weather. That definitely is an opportunity that could be included there if the operator saw the need.
Do you have a rendition of the roof lines on the top view of both options?
For the plan view, if you look at this site plan here, you can see basically the white is the roof area and the light color with the circle indicating a tree is what is not covered.
Is that both for the lantern?
For both options.
Oh, okay, because I saw a different elevation that kind of appeared to the lantern, I mean not the lantern, the porch view looked like the roof extended out further.
Yeah, it's just the angle of the rendering as you're looking from the different perspectives.
Okay, great. All right, so shall we start to my right? Are you ready to make comments, Councilwoman Oliva?
I was actually looking forward to some input from our council before I made a decision.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. And would it be useful to ask the audience if they would like to speak first?
Exactly that. I wanted to hear what everybody else had to say.
Okay.
It looked like
Public comment. Yeah. Is there anybody? I don't have any speakers list, so is anybody from the public would like to speak about any of the designs?
Well, I could just say from my committees that I've attended, it was the lantern that came from the seniors. So that's what I've heard.
Okay. All right. Okay, so why don't we start on Ms. Pappin's side, Councilwoman Pappin.
Oh, no, Ms. Schneider was ready.
Okay, Ms. Snyder. Nobody wants the potato.
I've been dying all night long to use this word. We've had a lot of talk in Millbrae about iconic buildings. And I think that the lantern design is much more iconic than the community porch. So I'm firmly in support of the iconic lantern design. I'm not a modern fan, but you have sold me on this one. I like it. I like the natural lighting with it. I like the way it breaks up. I think it's a good design, and I'm looking forward to our website providing a lot more information to help our public understand the hows and the whys. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Halber.
Okay, so I think these are both, I think, great designs, and I think if the cost were the same, I think I would go with the lanterns design because I think it does pop out a little bit more. But the $800,000 difference, in my opinion, is not insignificant, and we could have written it off right away either at the subcommittee level or the advisory committee, but I think the cost is an important consideration, and we're trying to cobble together $30 million, give or take, for this project, preferably without having to do another bond measure. That would be my preference. And because of that, there have to be, I think, some areas where we can economize a little bit. And for that, I think I would go with the porch option as a cost savings. I think they're both really beautiful buildings and functionally about the same. But as we're trying to get that $30 million together, that extra $800,000 makes it a little bit tougher, and that is where my vote is going.
Councilwoman Oliva.
I'm torn. I can relate to both the comments of Councilmember Holliber and Councilmember Schneider. I think that I just need some more input, and I would go with the consensus of the majority. I see the 800. I don't think that it's going to be that difficult to raise an additional 800, but it is $800,000. But when you're spending $30 million on something that's going to be there for 40 years, is it 50 years? Over a period of time of 50 years is amortized to be not so 800,000 in my face. So design-wise, what I've heard from the community is the park lantern. So I probably would like to hear. We didn't really put the numbers on it in the community, so we heard design, and the community wants that design. So should it be our task to go get the design for the community, the one that they want? And I'm willing to go work for it.
Okay. Anybody else? Councilwoman Pappin.
I appreciate everyone's hard work and effort here. I agree that the park lantern is the preferred design, but I will have to reason with Councilmember Holliber that we need to be as fiscally responsible as we possibly can. So I would have to go with the porch at this point.
So I have a question about if we decide on the lantern and we come down the line, we said, well, we just cannot afford to do that. Where is that demarcation point where we have to make a decision, right? And say, this, we're going to have to do this.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, yes, it is now, because after this election, then we go, with additional funding for schematic drawings and then construction drawings. So you can always change, but there would be a cost associated with the investment into moving forward with schematic drawings. But I will say, and if the architect comes up and corrects me if I'm wrong, that difference is about 2.5%. There may be, in talking with them, and not to put words in the architect's mouth, but we are going to look at some value engineering and some other cost reductions that we may be able to reduce that cost on the lantern such that it could come in at the same price. That's a discussion we've been having because of the fact that we've been hearing from, senior committee and our other committees and commissions that are out there. So I'm just throwing that out there as you ponder this decision.
Right. So at this point in time, the difference in the two designs and the bottom line difference is the 800,000. So there's multipliers to get us to that 800,000. So the actual construction difference is not that 800,000. It's the bottom line as we apply the multipliers and the allowances to it. If the direction from council is to develop the park lanterns as the preferred design and come back with a budget that is comparable to the park or the porches, we can definitely take that task on as we're completing this phase of the study and identify areas to look at cost reductions. Definitely as we're moving into schematic design phase, finding out where, identifying potential places where we can make up that difference.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't mean to make it more complex, but I thought it was information the council should know as you ponder it. So
you made it sound like it's a wash, is the way you presented it. So, which one do you like better, council? So,
I do. I mean, I guess that's where I'm kind of coming from in these projects. That if we can value engineer it and bring it in, and if the council says we prefer that design at that budget, then that's our challenge to go make that work.
Well, then I would vote for that.
I mean, but I can't. I don't want to speak for the architect and the design team and.
Yeah, and it's
not
confused,
Annie. So you're saying that if you can go back and try to figure out how we can get the lantern at a slightly cheaper cost, but come back to us with those plans. Is that where you're at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if it's a 2% reduction in the square footage, if it's looking at the materiality that we're using in different locations, if it's revisiting the structural system, trying to bring the cost of the structural system down, those are all strategies that we can take forward as areas and direction that we are going to design to that allowance. There is a difference in the design, as I said. I mean, you can look at the complexity of the roofs, the amount of flashing. There is more materials in the park lanterns. It's easy to see that just as you've looked at the models. So there is a cost difference, but if the direction is to come back with the park lanterns at a similar cost to the community porch, we can definitely take that challenge and come back to you with that.
Vice Mayor Oliver.
Well, through the chair, I think it depends on what where exactly that reduction is. I think my preference, I don't want to sacrifice the square footage of the building. I think it took a lot of work to get to the overall layout and the floor plans that we have identified here, and I wouldn't want to reduce the size of the building. Perhaps if there's something that can be done in terms of the materials that don't, that don't sacrifice the structural integrity of the building, but perhaps something on the facade, I may be open to that. But again, I would imagine those similar reductions could be made from either option, from the porch option as well. So, yeah.
I like a challenge, and I don't like to
awesome.
sleep at night. So I'm just kidding.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Like Councilman Oliva, I am more than willing to go out and figure out how we can make up an $800,000 difference that wouldn't necessarily come from our taxpayers. I would like a building. This is the building for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And one of the reasons I like the lantern more than the porch is the view from Lincoln Circle. And those residents have basically looked at a fairly ugly thing for quite some time. But it's also the view from everybody driving down Palm Avenue and everybody driving down Richmond, well, maybe not Richmond, Palm Avenue, definitely. I think it's important that we look at the same way we've been looking at the transit-oriented developments. We want something that we're going to be proud of for future generations. And yeah, we have residents saying, come out and build it the cheapest way possible, but we also need the square footage for future generations. But we want a building that we can be proud of. We learned from the election that there's a lot of anger in Millbrae. We're learning that the people of Millbrae are very angry as we question them about the Downtown Business Improvement District. And I don't think $800,000 is going to affect their anger too much more one way or the other right now. I think a building that we can all be proud of, and an iconic building, which means we're going to get written up in the papers. We're going to get people coming to see a building that is truly unique and special, is important. It puts us on the map. Our old rec center did not put us on the map. And we have an opportunity. We have a lot of really beautiful features in Millbrae, which I think we're going to see a lot come out of from the park inventory. I walked a good portion of the Spur Trail. We have some treasures, but we've never given ourselves enough pride to build something that we deserve, something that, again, we can be really, really proud of. And I think the lantern is the one that we can be proud of. I think it reflects both the older architecture and the newer architecture, and in fact, our changing demographics that come with that more Asian sensibility. So I think it's a really nice blending of the old and the new, and we deserve it. So I'm going to encourage my fellow council members to go for the lantern, try to do the cost savings. But, you know, if it really comes down, Councilwoman Oliva, let's go try to reach out to people and come up with that $800,000. I want a great building for Millbrae, the same way my fellow council members want great projects at the BART station. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. For me, I do think that $800,000 is not trivial, but I think it can be made up. I think this community can rally behind that and take a chunk of that $800,000 down. My concern about a single roof is that the reason why our last building burnt down is because it was a single roof and the fire just spread right through the building. So that's one of my concerns. And breaking up the roof line, even though it's modern technology and, most likely it's not going to spread through like that, I just feel that engineering-wise, it'd be wiser and aesthetically better looking if we just break up the roof line. And I think that also it adds it's a modern building, but it also adds a rustic look. It doesn't look very boxy. My thing about the lantern is even though it looks nice, it's still that big old roof kind of makes it look, it's just nondescript. It's kind of like flipping a piece of paper, page over to me. And I feel that there's more character with the lantern, and I immediately gravitated towards that look. It provides more lighting. It's more grand. It gives a sense of placement, a sense of community. So I really echo Councilwoman Schneider's view, and I would like to support that. So I'm going to motion to accept the part lantern.
Accept the lantern.
Yes, the lantern. Okay, got any votes, please?
On the motion for the lantern design, we have a vote of 3-2 with Councilmember Pappen and Vice Mayor Holliber dissenting.
Okay, thank you for your votes. Thank you. Thank you for Group 4 for your presentation and staff for your hard work. This is a huge step towards rebuilding our community center.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, what was that?
It's not even a long night, but it feels like a long night.
Peter, thank you for your work. I appreciate it. Okay, we have one more item. We have one more item of new business, the Millbrae Community Garden Design and Budget Plan. Thank you.
Whatever you want to do. Is this big enough?
Yes. I'm older than you.
You don't want to leave those for us?
Why is it not a...
Why don't you just leave them? You don't need to take them. People can look at them.
Oh, here, hit that.
They're nice.
How do you make it full screen? Whatever, I guess it said whatever. No, just make it smaller. It's fine.
Oh, fit to page.
Can you make it the whole page?
Oh, you okay? Oh my goodness. You all right, Elaine?
How'd you do that?
Oh, she said
there's
Control
directions.
L.
PowerPoint is F5. Yeah. That would have been fun, right, on TV?
Not enough to make a difference.
Are we ready for the next item?
Yep.
All right. Good evening,
Ready for you.
Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council, Keeling Public Works Director. Tonight we'll be talking about our first pilot community garden project in Millbrae at Central Park. And I'd like to introduce Mackenzie Brady, Recreation Director, who did a lot of the work in the planning and helping the group get together to discuss this project for the last couple of subcommittee meetings. Here you go, Mackenzie.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Mackenzie Brady. And I will be going through this presentation for you regarding our community garden design and budget plan. So to start off, we'll discuss the history of the community garden and the benefits of having a community garden, the location, the design, the budget, timeline for the plan moving forward, and photos of other local community gardens. So in 2014, the Parks and Recreation Commission put together a proposal for a community garden. And in 2015, the Parks and Recreation Commission had a community garden as part of their work plan for the fiscal year 15-16. Parks and Rec Commission subcommittee was actually formed in 2017, and the City Council subcommittee was formed in early 2019. Just recently, the Parks and Rec Commission approved the the community garden concept and the space within Central Park. And recently, staff also applied for Office of Sustainability Partnership just this last week, which will help to provide funding for the community garden, including funds for planter boxes, compost bins, storage spaces, and would also provide master gardeners for workshops and classes within the space. And the reason that we're doing this is that community gardens can provide significant community benefit, community building, health, wellness, and education, and also provide access to local produce, homegrown local produce. As you can see behind me, the site location is the most northeastern portion of Central Park. It's up on the plateau area that is not currently used for anything. Folks see it? And this provides easy access to irrigation, as irrigation is able to be run from the old community center site, so as to not trench under the street, and we'll keep it all within the park space.
And if I may, that water line will be metered, so we're able to then have the community gardeners actually pay for the water, so we won't be paying for it.
You can see the site design behind me. There is one location that is closer to Lincoln Circle. This is north, east, southwest. Oh, great. I didn't know that.
Mackenzie, remember.
You use the mouse, please. The people at home can see it easier. You know, the mouse on a.
This way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here you go.
All right.
Key, they want you to use the mouse because you can see the pointer. There you go.
Control L.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, I want to.
Is there a pointer? Where's the pointer?
Yeah, it should be.
All right, we got it to work. Can you go back to the old slide?
Yes. All right, so there's a space that is closer to Lincoln Circle that is actually an ADA space, and all of those boxes that you can see, the gray boxes, those are the planter boxes. And so we plan to have the boxes be 4 foot by 8 foot
up to 10 foot by 10 foot. And so those are the ADA boxes. Those will be at a height where individuals who are using a wheelchair can access these spaces, and also individuals with other types of potential limited mobility can access this as well. There's a decomposed granite walkway that will lead from Lincoln Circle up to the ADA space within this area. There's also a compost bin and storage shed within this location as well, and additional space to build more boxes if demand needs it. And at the top of the plateau within Central Park is another location of 30 planter boxes, 34 by 8 planter boxes. Key, what is the dimension of that?
Those are about 4 by 8 also.
No, of the fence.
The fence is about 120 feet long, and then about 50 to 60 feet across.
And all of the black dots within...
They didn't hear you what you said at home.
The dimensions of the larger plot on the plateau areas measures about 110 to 120 feet long, and they are about 50 to 60 feet across. And we plan it with the expectation that if we have plenty of demand, we are able to expand it and introducing more planter boxes in the future.
And the black dots that are located within the fence spaces are where the water spigots will be. Going through the budget, so there will be a significant portion of the work to implement this program performed by city staff. So that would be the site grading, the pathway, irrigation extension, and the planter box prep. And then our hope is to receive donations potentially from the Office of Sustainability Partnership Program or from other local community organizations, donations in terms of the supplies that we need as well as labor. And for the timeline, if approved tonight, we will start with the fundraising and advertising efforts as of tomorrow. Moving forward, grading and site construction will take place starting in mid-March through mid-April. And at the March 26th council meeting, we will bring back bylaws for you all to review and approve, as well as fees for the planter box spaces. From mid-April to the end of April, there would be planter box construction, as well as the final irrigation extension. On April 27th, the plan is for that to be the city's Earth Day celebration, as well as a soft opening. And in early May, that we would have the storage shed and compost bin installation. After that, there would be the fencing construction. And then by the end of May and early June, there would be the final grand opening and planting. Here I have pictures of other local community parks. You can see this is San Mateo's Beresford Park. The first photo there is right at the entrance. You can see a variety of different planter boxes. The middle picture is one large planter box where somebody has made smaller planter boxes within it. So there's a number of different sizes there. And then the third one is, there are more pictures of the garden space. The first picture in this is another large box with wooden slats that are put in there for division and walkways. You can see a compost bin, and then how this park has a water spigot where you need a key to turn on the water. Another park's community garden is Burlingame Bayside Fields. This is similar to a fence that we've been considering and potentially looking at. And you can see that these garden beds are 4 by 8 garden beds, as well as a bulletin board, more photos of the garden beds. Each planter box here has its own spigot, and there's actually a potting table area for the gardeners to use as well, with a drain below it. And there's actually a ADA accessible bed in right here. All right, and just moving forward, staff would recommend that the City Council would approve the site design and budget plan for the community garden.
Councilman Snyder.
This is more for anybody watching at home. I'm, of course, on the subcommittee with Mayor Lee. I'm very excited about this. When I lived in Mountain View, we had a 3-year waiting list for people living in apartments. Typically, the community gardens are for people that are landlocked. They don't have, or that's not the right word, they don't have a backyard. They often don't even have a patio to do that. So largely, the clients or tenants are going to be from apartments or from condominiums on things like that. It's just a great opportunity to provide them a space to grow tomatoes or lettuce or strawberries. It's just an exciting thing. But along with it usually comes a greater community interest in gardening along with it. And hopefully we're going to get a garden club growing out of this. There'll be people that can share ideas with what to do, how to work on things. It's another way of bringing the community together. So I am just really excited. And I know that the Park and Rec Commission has been talking about this since 2014. They put their PowerPoint together. I think they've been talking about it since 2012. So, but this has happened quickly, and yay, thank you, staff. And I'm hoping we're going to pass it tonight.
Yeah, it started quickly, and it's just I've been working on this project for more than 12 years. So staff made it happen in less than 6, or 2. Councilwoman Pappen.
Ooh, sorry. So we're sure about the lighting in this area is optimal for growing items, and then my second question is that we have a lot of wildlife in Millbrae. This fence that's going to be put up here, I mean, I know I find all kinds of critters running through my yard anyway, so
let me address Councilwoman Pappen's question first. The lighting, we did look at the site, and we select the area where we don't have a lot of overgrown trees. We are not planning on cutting down any type of trees at Central Park. So that location we think is optimum. Depends on what you grow, and there'll be guidelines that we're going to bring forward to you on March 26, what you can or cannot do in those public plots at Central Park. And second, about wildlife, and that is a reason why we are proposing to erect those fences around the plot. And they are not so much for people. I think they are more for little dogs and other wildlife coming in.
Those little dogs, Ms. Oliva.
But one thing I do want to caution all participants is that there are still flying creatures out there. So we need to come up with some ideas how to protect our fruits and vegetables.
All right, so I would like to recommend anybody who's trying to grow here, blow up snakes. Keep the birds away. They do. The birds are the worst if you're trying to grow produce. The owl thing doesn't work. So I'm just letting you know on that front. Some blow-up snakes, you can get them online. They work well to scare away the birds. And I do believe the fencing is important not only for the wildlife. That is quite a pathway for our youth, and I would hate to see anyone's gardening efforts kids kind of
being vandalized. Yes, we understand that.
So I get that. I'm as a final note here. So this is budgeted as $55,200. What portion realistically do we feel like we can get contributions for and to deter this cost?
The total estimated budget is about $55,000, of which we are hoping to get donation from corporation, from labor in kind type of donation to a total amount of about $34,000. And the remaining funding would be actually contribution by city staff in kind labor, such as doing grading work and bringing water irrigation line into the site.
So really compliment city staff. They are wonderful. So thank you for all of that. And might I suggest that if we don't necessarily need to burden city staff with all that, can we make this kind of a kaboom thing?
We would love to. And we're looking into ways of secure external funding. I know McKinsey has been working about getting funding from outside agency.
Okay, I guess I better explain.
I think what you're is having it be a community building day. Yes, that is what the plan is.
Kaboom is where they come out. The public is invited to come out and build a park. So I'm hoping that the public will be invited to come out and help build the garden.
If approved, that is what we are planning to have.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may just add onto those comments, I mean, as you can see, the way we've divided the budget, we're very fiscally conscientious. And so that dividing line there where we do the site prep at a little over 21,000, that is a good time to then, as we start recruiting volunteers almost immediately here, that does have a nice little break that we can phase it in as we get volunteer money and volunteer resources. So we're very conscientious about the fiscal impact of this. So,
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, so great work to everyone involved with this, the subcommittee and our staff and Parks and Rec Commission. And it's not very much money, so I thank staff for keeping the budget down here. I do have a question of the subcommittee, if there are any other locations that were considered before selecting this location?
Councilman Snyder.
Not really, except we did look at other locations. We looked at space around Lameda Park, and actually, Mackenzie, you might have more of the list. Possibly, we looked at Bayside Manor. We looked at both of those parks because they both need to have significant work done to them, and there's an opportunity. Marina Vista, being closer to a concentration of apartments as opposed to Bayside Manor, but we thought that this is the one that we could get the best control in. It already had water supply, and that this would be a test. And if we can if all of the spaces get leased out, we'll have an idea of demand. So we're currently working on demand right now, currently trying to identify gardeners in town, have reached out to the Master Gardener Program. Again, for the public, the Master Gardener Program is out of the University of California Cooperative Extension, and Master Gardeners go through a training program, and once they complete it, they give time back to the community. And they have worked on community gardens up and down our UC Cooperative Extension, San Francisco to Santa Clara. Anyway, they're kind of helping put together those pieces. But did I leave out any other places? We talked about Lameda Park, but I'm not sure we have city property there.
Here we go.
Do we?
I agree that this one being near apartments is important.
The biggest consideration was who was going to benefit most from this community garden, and it would be the hundreds of apartment people, or thousands actually, in that neighborhood would benefit them greatly, and also bring them into the community.
Right, and just like I am for this. My only concern, though, is we did spend a significant amount of time on the master plan for Central Park and the recreation center as part of that planning process. One of the things that was considered was a community garden. There was very limited support in those workshops that we held, and it was not included in the master plan. So perhaps, obviously the master plan will not all be built out at once. I think maybe as we go forward, we could see how much interest is generated by the project. But maybe 10 years from now, that whole area might be redesigned in a different way.
One of the good things about, or maybe one of the bad things about community gardens is they can be moved. Again, in Mountain View, when they built their brand new senior center about 10, 15 years ago, they did move the longstanding garden. You do a little bit of work. You prep your soil. Over time, your soil is supposed to improve. So we hope we don't have to. But just to let you know, the other two members from Park and Rec Commission, John Kiefer and Chris Del Negro, are on the subcommittee, and we're in favor of this location.
Councilwoman Pappen.
And am I correct in saying this is a pilot program? Correct. So hopefully it'll take off and be a good contribution.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the project? Okay, your votes, please. Okay.
Item number 8 passed unanimously.
Okay, thank you to staff. Thank you to the subcommittee. Okay, so council comments. We're actually doing really good. Okay, so I'll start with Councilwoman Pappen.
Real short. So tomorrow is my second Metropolitan Transportation Committee meeting, and I'm trying to meet with all the cities, all 20 cities and towns within San Mateo County. The idea being that we all have special needs regarding transportation issues and also housing issues. So I hope to get a good understanding of what all of our needs are so that we can communicate them to the Metropolitan Transportation Committee, which is the committee that doles out a lot of the money that we hope will assist each and every one of our cities and towns throughout the region so that we can actually make transportation work. So thank you very much.
Councilman Schneider.
Tomorrow night, for those people who are still on the fence or planning to go to Malta, we have our next Malta Sister City planning meeting tomorrow, 6:30 at the Chetcudi Room, 6:30 p.m. The Cultural Arts Committee had a special meeting yesterday where they looked at artwork for the pilot project of our utility box project. So some good news, congratulations, and thank you to the students at St. Dunstan's and Taylor Middle School. They provided drawings, and the drawings will be coming back to council at our next meeting.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so that was really great. Gotta love our middle school kids. Disappointing was we didn't get any drawings from Cappuccino Mills or the senior painting program. So those boxes are going to be moved to the fall, and we'll do another submission. And we have heard back from Cappuccino and the senior art group that they're very interested. They just needed more time. And I know I've already reached out to a couple of the seniors to see if there was something we could have done in our design guides that might have helped them feel more confident in applying. But I think you're going to like what the kids have come up with. And the other part that the Cultural Arts is working for, and I'm a little concerned, so I am requesting you out there in the public, we have the return of the Millbrae Community Art Show. It's April 5th and 6th. Artwork needs to be turned in by Thursday the 4th, and we want amateurs, professionals, please bring in your artwork. You can get an application to let people know so that we can plan for it. It should be a fun event. This was something that we used to do every year in Millbrae, from elementary school to high school to amateur to professional artists. Please, we're going to get that up on, we're going to get the application on the website. I have the applications, but please be thinking about turning in your art. It's a fun way. We're going to have sort of a red carpet opening on Friday, April 5th, and then Saturday, and then we want you picking up your artwork on Sunday. Today, just another thing, and hopefully we'll get this out to the community. There's something called walk audits. This is an outcome of Safe Routes to School. Millbrae our schools last did a walk audit in 2013. We're trying to find the recommendations from that walk audit for the Bike and Pedestrian Committee. But the county is doing another walk audit. These are in Daly City and South San Francisco, but I'll be attending so that I can learn about it, and I welcome all the council members. There's 3 different opportunities. It's very early in the morning at 7:45, but you go for a walk and you try to see what would make it safer for bicyclists and what would make it safer for pedestrians, how to get our kids to walk to school, be healthy, and reduce the amount of driving. And leading right into that then is the bike rodeo is moving. Again, thank you to staff, an incredible amount of staff, including partners with the sheriffs, partners with the Highway Patrol, the fire department. The rodeo will be Saturday, May 11th. A bike rodeo, for people who are wondering, is a chance for children age 6 and up, and adults if you want to bring your bicycle, and you go through a safety course. We're also going to have the Highway Patrol there doing a fitting of your helmets to make sure that your helmet will actually fit properly, and there's a helmet giveaway for children and adults who will need helmets. The elementary schools, pre-K through 5th grade, at our 4 public schools and St. Dunstan's, we're going to have a safety poster contest, and the city has graciously donated a Target gift card to the winner of each school. Each school will get one winner, and it's going to be judged by the members of the Cultural Arts Committee. we're going to have safety booths. I don't know if anybody saw in the Daily Journal last week that they're doing a get ready mini training. So the public can come and learn how to set up your Go kit if your house has a fire and you need to grab things, how to sign up for SMC Alert, how to safety prep your home, small mini workshops like that so the public can start getting ready. We're trying to make it a community event. I haven't asked the Lions yet, but they're hopefully providing food, and it should be a good event. Families, all sizes, shapes, colors, and ages, please plan. May 11th at Taylor, between the Shea Center and the basketball courts at Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Oliva.
Okay, so the South Sheriff's Activity League will be having their junior program golf, and Green Hills has obliged to open it up, and we'll have them there a couple days a week, so that's really exciting. That'll be Taylor school age kids. They'll be able to walk over and play golf, learn golf, mentor golf, not only just golf, but all the etiquette that goes along with the golf. With regards to the Heart Board, on April 3rd in Belmont from 6 to 7 at the Belmont City Hall, there is a first-time homebuyer program of which you can qualify. They will have somebody there to help you qualify for up to $795,000 purchase price with 5% down. I'm not going to go into the particulars, but it's April 3rd from 6 to 7. I want to encourage anybody that wants to make a plan or see if they can really make a difference in housing for themselves. And it's pretty much the ultimate control of rent control would be homeownership. And I just know for a fact that there's like 3 teachers that went in last month with this program. So it's an amazing program. The joint school board meeting is Thursday at 2 o'clock. The Millbrae Economic Vitality has changed their time, and their meeting will be next Thursday at 6 o'clock. Again, I was with the seniors, and I want to mention one more time, March 8th, the senior scam prevention from 10:30 to 11:30 here in Millbrae. The seniors also had a guest speaker at their meeting. That's a vibrant group, I tell you. They had a guest speaker at their meeting, and it was Housing for All Burlingame, and talking about having just market rate units being built in Burlingame and how there is such a need still for housing. So I'm going to say one more time, HEART, the housing to purchase. The HEART program, April 3rd in Belmont, but it's a county-wide program, and it's from 6 to 7. They'll lend you up to a purchase price of $795,000 with 5% down. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Holber.
Okay, at the Sister Cities Commission last night, they discussed the group to Malta, and I believe we have about 18 people going now in the group, including 2 of our council members here. There also is some initial discussion about perhaps a group going to Hanyu, Japan in November. We don't have very many details yet, but the city of Hanyu's 65th anniversary will be November 9th of this year. So I know Kathleen Kimura was trying to get a group together for that, but more details to come later. At the commute.org Peninsula Congestion Relief Alliance Board, we discussed the Safe Routes to School and the program with Mr. Fenton. Unfortunately, none of the Millbrae schools were selected, at least in this round of funding. The focus is more on some of the lower income schools and schools with safety deficiencies around the county, but I'm sure there will be future rounds of funding and a lot of good information from these walk audits. And then there will be a high-speed rail meeting, Peninsula Working Group meeting here in Millbrae, at the Millbrae Library. That is at the same time as our next council meeting, March 12th. It does begin at 6 p.m. I don't know if we have a 6 p.m. that night or not, but 6 to 8 p.m. at the Millbrae Library for those interested in high-speed rail. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, again, just want to wish Councilwoman Pappen a happy birthday. I just want to thank staff for all your hard work tonight. And things are moving along Millbrae very, very well. So at the CCAG meeting, let me back up. Councilwoman Schneider and myself went to it. What was the sea level? I can remember the name.
Climate resiliency.
Climate resiliency.
It's got a long name.
So basically, it has to do with sea level rise and resiliency. It's being chaired by, it should be staffed by Larry Patterson, former city manager from San Mateo. And they are, the idea is to kind of similar to PCE, Peninsula Clean Energy, form of JPA. That way, cities would have more of a say. And why the emphasis is because Congresswoman Sphere has noted that a lot of counties are getting money for sea level rise, and this county has not been getting the money that we ought to. And the reason why is because we're not as well organized as other counties, or they have not put the effort into it. So this is an effort by Supervisor Pine to help us get some of that money that we really need. Just for everybody to know, our sewer treatment plant and a lot of our economy is going to be underwater if we don't do something. So, yes, please.
And as part of this organization, the group of cities, every city will contribute certain funding to it to match the county's contribution to the group, so that we can leverage all of that and try to get money for sea level rising. And the airport just finished their studies too, so it fits in perfectly well.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, I do have an update, if I may, real quick.
Yes, please.
I've been coordinating with Larry, and on March 26th, we will have a study session on this topic from 6 to 7. So
moving right on.
Yep. And we need to move pretty quickly. Let's see. Over 3 years. So I think they're talking about raising or having $1.4 billion over 3 years in 20 cities that they want to divide money up for sea level rise. So that's quite a bit of change that we can get. And Carpool 2.0, which is a program for municipalities. So this is incentive for cities and other agencies to incentivize their employees to carpool. And so far, the program has netted about saved 81 tons of CO2. So they are redoing. We as a CMEC committee has supported this project. And what else is there? And don't forget, the Lunar New Year is going to happen. Lunar New Year Festival, rain or shine, is going to happen. What's a Lunar New Year Festival without a little rain, right? So, what's that? It's this Saturday. 10 o'clock, the fair opens. The parade starts at 11:30 at Living Spaces. And a lot of the schools and the children are participating. We're going to have Congresswoman Sphere and also the Grand Marshal, Kevin Mullen, is going to be there. We're going to have Miss Chinatown. We'll have the Mills Dragon team and the Lion Dancers, and city staff's going to be there as well. Our city manager is going to make an appearance. So it should be pretty awesome. I would encourage everybody to see the pageantry. Who's that? Oh yeah, I heard that an emperor or nobility is going to be there too. So, anyway, thank you everybody for your hard work, and I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Good night.